Hi, hello guys, this is Vijay, chemist lecturer from Alibaug Junior College. And as you know that we have started our NEET series. Based on that we are discussing about NEET chemistry and NEET biology. And in that category today we are going to discuss about NEET chemistry unit 2 atomic structure in detail. Let's start. So now let us talk about this unit 2 atomic structure, limitations of Bohr's atomic theory. Limitations of Bohr's atomic theory. So in the previous class we have discussed about Bohr's atomic theory and its success. Now let us talk about the limitations. You know that the Bohr's theory of atomic structure, that was a quite successful theory of atomic structure as comparing to the Rutherford's model and the J.J. Thomson's model. And this particular atomic theory is could able to explain that stability of an atom and also the line spectrum of hydrogen atom and hydrogen like atoms. Okay. So though there are several advantages have been seen in the Bohr's atomic theory, there are some limitations of Bohr's model of atom. So let us talk about what are the major limitations of this Bohr's atomic theory. Yes, the major the limitations of Bohr's atomic theory. Now according to this Bohr's model of an atom, that could not account for the finer details. I mean the two closely spaced lines between the line spectrum of the hydrogen spectrum, and that was using with the help of the sophisticated spectroscopic technique. So that is one of the major default for this Bohr's atomic theory. He could not explain about the finer details. Okay, finer details of line spectrum. Next, talking about this model also could not explain the line spectra of the atoms which is containing more than one electron. I mean this particular model could able to explain about single electron species. It is not explaining about the multi-electron atoms. So this particular theory could not explain in detail about multi-nucleated or multi-electron atoms. Okay, according to this Bohr's theory, one and only one spectral line can originate from one electron between two given different energy levels. Okay. See, but if a powerful spectroscope we are using in certain single lines, that could be found to split into number of very closely related different lines, and these lines could not be explained on the basis of this Bohr's atomic theory. So multi-electron atoms and its closely related lines could not be explained by Bohr's atomic theory. Zeeman effect. Okay, let us talk about this. Bohr's theory, that theory of atomic structure could fail to explain about this Zeeman effect. First of all, let us talk about this. The effect of magnetic field on the spectra of the atoms or maybe the ions, that is described by Zeeman effect. This was first observed when the atom which is emitting the radiations which is placed in a strong magnetic field. And each spectral line in this are further divided into number of different other lines, and this particular effect of the appearance of these lines are called Zeeman effect. Zeeman effect always related to what? Magnetic field. So Bohr's theory of an atomic structure could not explained about this magnetic field on the spectra of atoms or the ions. This particular atomic structure could fail to explain about the Zeeman effect. Next, talking about Stark effect. Yes. So Zeeman effect closely, it is related to what? Magnetic field. Stark effect, it is related to what? Electric field. Talking about Stark effect. Force theory also could not explain the effect of electric field on the spectra of the atoms or the ions. According to this theory, it was observed when the atom which is emitting the radiation, that is placed in a strong electric field. And here also we could able to see the each spectral line which is further split into number of lines. And these phenomena, this process, we could call it as Stark effect. And this Stark effect could explain the electric field. So this also could not be explained by Bohr's atomic theory. Okay. And next, talking about the other two important, the limitations that is related to this Bohr's model of an atomic theory. That is based on these two new principles, dual nature of light, and also uncertainty principle. So these are also two important principles could overcome for these limitations of this Bohr's atomic theory. Okay, talking about this, they introduced the idea about the wave character of the electron in addition to its particle nature of the electron. And these are overruled the Bohr's idea of well-defined circular path. Talking about the dual nature of the dual nature of the electromagnetic radiation that could be able to propagate in the two variations of, like the wave-like particle, wave theory and particle theory. Yes. And this particular, principle could overrule the Bohr's idea of well-defined circular path, where we are discussing about, the atomic structure of Bohr's model. There, the electrons which is revolving around the nucleus in a circular path called as stationary orbit. Okay. So these two principles could overrule the Bohr's atomic theory. So these all are the major limitations of Bohr's atomic theory. So now, talking about quantum mechanical model or modern atomic theory. So this modern atomic theory could explain, to overcome the shortening of the Bohr's model of an atom. This Bohr's model of an atom could develop two important concepts which contributed the significant effect for the formulation of new model, that is dual nature of matter and Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Talking about first dual nature of matter. Okay. In the year 1924, de Broglie, who suggested that just like the light that could exhibit in the two different properties, like wave-like property and particle-like properties, all these microscopic material particles such as electrons, protons, atoms, molecules, they also have dual characteristic features. They have the particle as well as the wave-like properties. So all the material particles in motion that could be possess wave characteristic features. According to de Broglie, the wavelength which is associated with the particle mass moving with the velocity. According to de Broglie, he could explain that the wavelength which is associated with a particle of mass and also moving with the velocity. Okay. So wavelength, that is nothing but h by m nu. This is nothing but h by mv. This is nothing but lambda, that is denoting for the wavelength of the particle, and where here h stands for Planck's constant, and m and v, m is nothing but mass of the particle and v is nothing but velocity of the particle. So this we could described by h by p. Yes, so p is equal to mv. P is nothing but momentum, okay, mass of the particle and velocity of the particle. So this is the equation given by de Broglie. Now let us talk about the derivation of de Broglie relationship. The relationship may be derived from the combination of mass of the particle and the energy of the particle, mass and energy. And this mass and energy relationship already proposed by Max Planck and Einstein. Already they could explain about this, the relationship between the mass and the energy of the particle. According to Planck, photon of the light which is having the energy called E, capital E, that is nothing but photon of the light, energy of the light, that is equal to hv. Here h stands for Planck's constant and v stands for the velocity. If considering this as equation 1, okay, according to the Einstein, this is about according to the Planck's. According to the Einstein, E is equal to mc square. Here m stands for the mass and c stands for the velocity of the light. Okay, so considering this as equation number 2, combining both these two relationship, equation 1 and equation 2, we could able to get that hv is equal to mc square. Now hv is equal to mc square. Hv, here h stands for Planck's constant, v stands for velocity, and that is equal to mass. M stands for mass of the particle and c stands for the velocity of the light. Okay, now this we know already that c is equal to v by lambda. Yes, already we know that we have discussed the wave properties. C is equal to v by lambda. So c is nothing but velocity of the light, that is nothing but velocity and wavelength. Okay, that means v is equal to c by lambda. V is equal to c by lambda. In place of c, we replaces hv, then hv by lambda is equal to mc square. hv by lambda is equal to mc square. Yes, cancelling the c, cancelling the c, we get h by lambda is equal to mc. Then lambda is equal to h by mc. And this equation, that is describing for the wavelength is equal to the Planck's constant divided by mass of the particle and velocity of the particle. Velocity is nothing but c. The equation is valid for the photon. De Broglie, who suggested that on substituting the mass of the particle m and the velocity v, in place of velocity of c, just we are substituting in the place of c, we are substituting the mass and the velocity. The equation can also be applied for the material particles. That means lambda is equal to wavelength, that is equal to h by mv. Just substituting in the place of c, we are substituting mass of the particle and the velocity of the particle. This equation is called the de Broglie equation. Okay, so where h is equal to, where lambda is equal to h by p, because already we know that p is equal to mv. mass into velocity. P is equal to mv. So replacing mv, we can write it as p. So lambda is equal to h by p. P is nothing but momentum. Momentum is equal to mass into velocity of the particle. Okay. So this is said to be de Broglie's equation. And this de Broglie equation would able to give the justification for the dual nature of the electron. This could explain about the dual nature of the electron. Okay. So how this could justify for the particle nature of the light and also wave nature of the light. Let us see what are the observations being made for this. Particle nature, when the electron that would exhibit the characteristic features of the particle, they have definite mass, definite energy, definite momentum and definite charge. When an electron which is striking, yes, when we are talking about the photoelectric effect, when the electron which is striking on the zinc sulfide screen, that produces a spot of the light, that is called scintillation. And this was observed by each striking of electron that could produces only one scintillation point. And this indicate that scintillation, and therefore the striking of the electron must be localized and not spread out like a wave. So this observation could explain about when the electron is striking on the zinc sulfide screen, that could able to show only one light spot, and this spot is called scintillation point. If it is going in a wave-like structure, that could be not possible, where the electron is pointing at once for every striking. Okay. Now talking about this wave nature, the wave nature of the electrons, that was verified by Davison and Zerner in the year 1927 and George Thomson in the year 1928. If you look at this picture, you can able to understand the experiments and the observations of this, the justification of dual nature of the matter. Okay. Next, we are going to discuss about Heisenberg uncertainty principle. The second one. Okay, talking about this Heisenberg uncertainty. Uncertainty. The meaning of uncertainty is not accurate. Yes. Okay. Now talking about this particular principle, what it could explain. It is highly impossible to measure simultaneously both the position and also momentum, I mean the velocity of the microscopic particle with absolute accuracy. It is highly difficult to observe either the position, if you able to observe the position, but we could not expect the velocity of the particle. If we could able to observe the velocity, we could not observe the position of the particle. So it is highly impossible. And mathematically, this Heisenberg uncertainty principle could able to give one derivation, that is delta x dot delta p greater than or less than h by 4 pi. Okay. Here, the delta x, that is nothing but uncertainty in the position of the particle. Talking about delta p, uncertainty in the momentum, I mean the movement, velocity of the particle, which is greater than or equal to, okay, h by 4 pi. Here h stands for Planck's constant and 4 pi, that is for the circular path of the particle motion. Okay. So far, guys, we have discussed a few topics from this unit 2 atomic structure in detail, and this particular chapter we will continue with one more video. Until then, thank you guys.